Welcome back to Economy Roast. I'm Andrew Mahiel, and this is the show where we dissect the chaos of global markets with a sharp eye and even sharper commentary. And our focus today, the economic earthquake that is Donald Trump. Just last Friday, August the 1st, a new tariff list was unleashed, sending governments, businesses, and financial markets reeling faster than the floor of Wall Street. It has drawn a bizarrely unbelievable line between winners and losers. A few poorer nations have been putting on the chopping block for reasons no one can understand, while ironically, remote islands inhabited only by penguins have been granted an exemption. Ladies and gentlemen, where is the logic? From Canada to South Africa, alarm bells are ringing over jobs and soaring prices. The White House, meanwhile, remains bafflingly silent. The only certainty right now is chaos. So who are the winners? Who are the losers? And who is the real joke in this economic chess game? Join us as we roast this tariff turmoil until it's dizzy for the next 15 minutes. Let's get started.
This latest tariff list continues to baffle analysts. Why is a remote, desolate place like the Heard and McDonald Islands, home only to penguins, slapped with a 10% tariff? Or why is an impoverished African nation like Lesotho hit with a staggering 50% tariff? Three poor countries, Syria, 41%, Laos, and Myanmar, both 40%, are among the hardest hit, despite their limited trade ties with the US. Iraq, Serbia, 35%, and Algeria, 30%, share a similar fate. Brazil faces a unique 50% penalty, with Trump claiming the country is engaged in a witch hunt against former President Bolsonaro, a close ally accused of plotting a coup. Lesotho's tariff was later reduced to 15% amid international outcry, but the damage was done. U.S. orders stalled, thousands lost jobs, and the government declared a state of emergency. Meanwhile, the Heard and McDonald Islands maintained their 10% tariff from April, spared a higher rate thanks to Australia, which governs the islands, striking a deal with Washington.
For me, it's still like 50%, because our people in the garment industry will not compete. They cannot compete. We have particularly two countries that are going to be giving us a bit of a run for the money. This is Eswatini and Kenya. They both have 10%, and they are both in the same market as us. And it will be quite easy for the buyers to switch their allegiance to these two countries and place orders in these two countries. Thank you, sir. We have close to 12,000 jobs that are directly on the firing line because of this tariff. But there's an additional 40,000 that depends on this 12,000.
Yes, I will be affected badly because Trump's tariffs are also going to affect the prices on the things that I sell. I will also have to inflate the prices, and now my clients will also stop coming because they can't afford what I'll be selling. I wish that there could be something for us like job opportunities so that we can achieve our dreams or our goals, something apart from sitting at home. Because most of the people, they are unemployed and there's no light. They don't see the future.
They are unemployed and then there is no light. They don't see their future.
They are going to affect us badly. Because even here, we only come on weekends because of the municipality. It's really hard for us. There are no jobs, there are no informal settlements where we can sell our clothes from. It's a serious problem.
Lesotho's textile industry, the country's leading export sector, heavily relies on the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, a U.S. trade initiative that allows eligible African nations duty-free access to the American market. Economic analyst Thabo Kwesi stated that the adjusted tariff rate does little to revive the industry.
We have been coming here and lining up for jobs for almost 3 months. It doesn't sit well with me that we come here, but our lives are tough. Things are really difficult. Every morning, I wake up at 6 a.m. to go job hunting, and the response we would always get is that we are waiting for a response from Trump. We will only answer you when we hear what the tariffs are. That is the only response we would get when looking for work. On this issue, Trump was not fair at all, because from the onset he just imposed what he was going to do and put the tariffs at a high rate. That was not fair on our government. I now have a big problem because the money that I was making is not there anymore. I was earning between 2,900 and 3,000 rands. Now I don't have it. It's now month end, and I'm just here at home, and there is no income coming in. It is all quiet.
The buyers have cancelled to place orders emanating from Lesotho. So this says, as we speak now, most workers, they're at home. They were put on short time, you know. So it means the 15% didn't make the difference, you know, because the orders are not coming. The US market was very big and paying very good, you know, in dollars. And factories here, they were able to make a huge profit because once you import raw materials for export purposes, you don't pay duties, meaning that the factories, they were making huge savings starting from securing the raw materials, you know.
Now that Mr. Trump has lowered the tariffs, I'm still hoping that we will get our jobs back. I'm only hopeful because this is what the factory owners were running away from, saying there's no work for us to do.
The apparel industry is the largest private sector employer in Lesotho, a nation with a GDP of only about $2.3 billion annually. The United States accounts for nearly 20% of Lesotho's total exports, including clothing for brands like Levi's and Reebok, which are sold in retail chains such as Walmart. Although the 50% tariff was only a threat, orders have nearly vanished, production lines have halted, and workers have been laid off. This landlocked nation of 2.3 million people has thrived for more than 2 decades thanks to the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, a U.S. trade program that allows goods from dozens of African countries to be exported to the U.S. duty-free. However, the recent U.S. decision to reduce the threatened tariff to 15% instead of a complete waiver came too late to prevent damage to the small African kingdom's textile industry, which had already been hit hard by months of trade uncertainty.
The American market, we were in the verge of building it. At the time that the tariffs came, we were around 10%. We lost like 200 jobs. Because, as you know, American orders, the specs and everything are higher than the local markets. So basically, we had to lose a quite substantial number of people. Impact, we lost a lot, but now coming back is good news for us. And then talking to our buyers, they are positive in going back to the table to discuss business again. So, yeah.
These are cutting tables, as you see, going all the way to the wall there. At peak production, all these tables would be laid and cutting would be going on here. Factories, of course, are in there to make business. If they are not selling anything because they are not getting any orders, then of course they have to close. As it stands right now, A few have in fact closed. Most of the factories that are still operational at this stage are those that are selling to South Africa, which is part of the regional market, and we should expand on as it would be.
According to Oxford Economics, this sector employs about 40,000 people and accounts for approximately 90% of manufactured export earnings. The declaration of a state of disaster allows the government of Lesotho to quickly reallocate its budget towards programs to combat youth unemployment and stimulate the economy, including free business registration and the establishment of a fund to support startups. Trade expert David Hennig from the European Centre for International Political Economy, ECIPE, in Brussels, suggests that without a specific explanation, the US might still be relying on its old formula, which is to impose heavier taxes on countries with large trade surpluses with the United States. President Trump argued that these trade surpluses pose an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and economy of the United States. However, many economists disagree with the notion that trade deficits are inherently harmful. Trump's tariff policies are currently facing legal challenges and may be brought before the Supreme Court for review. Nevertheless, the tariff standoff between the US and China, the world's two largest economies, remains unresolved. After a series of tit-for-tat announcements, both sides agreed to a temporary pause until August 12th. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated that any extension of the truce would only be confirmed once President Trump gives his formal approval.
Ladies and gentlemen, 15 minutes of economy roast have flown by, and President Trump's tariff gamble remains as unpredictable as ever. They say that in a casino, the house always wins. But in this game, where the house is also a player and the stakes are the prosperity of nations, the rule seems to have changed. We've seen players pushed away from the table, like Lesotho's garment industry. We've seen other players forced to call the bet with great hesitation. We've also seen those who cheer for the house, the American people, footing the bill for the game with every item they purchase. So who really wins? Perhaps the only true winner is uncertainty itself. In a world where a single tweet can disrupt an entire supply chain, maybe the greatest lesson isn't how to win, but how to avoid losing too badly. A sincere thank you to our experts for their sharp analysis. Thank you to our audience for your attention. And don't forget, economics might seem dry, but here at Economy Roast, we always know how to spice things up. Goodbye and see you next time.